Hello and welcome. We start AFC, and here we are today with the Miami Dolphins team that, when you see the picture and when you realize that this is the first team that I uncover from this division, that is one of the worst division in football, and if you took away Bills, could be the worst in football, it's probably not a good sign. And when you see the picture, yeah, I really think one of the predictions that I had last year that was kind of a hot take, that Dolphins are one of the teams that I would put in my bottom five four teams that in next 5 years, starting in 2024, have a chance to win a Super Bowl. Does it mean that the Dolphins are the worst team in NFL? No, but that's actually kind of the problem, because their lowest of lows are probably not good enough or bad enough to have like top 5 pick or top 3 pick. But their highest of highs is playoff and first round exit, it really seems like. And that's just an absolute definition of purgatory, at least for me. And I don't think Dolphins are going to get out of there, anytime soon. Why? I will explain in the video, but I took my Niffler t-shirt because like Nifflers as Dolphins, like they can be playful, though, like if you know Dolphins and something about that, they are actually nasty predators. So like let's hope that they can be more of that as a team. But yeah, I will try to be positive, but at the same time, my position on the Dolphins as a team that is stuck in one of the hardest places to get out of in terms of NFL, yeah, it unfortunately remains. Now, how did we get there? What do I think of their offseason and their draft and their current roster? Yeah, let's find out. Now, okay, we will start actually positively because I'm really happy with a lot of the things that they have done in the offseason. And whether does it mean that they have come to the same conclusion as I have about this team? One, speed can only get you somewhere, and the somewhere is not more than first round exit in case of Dolphins. And at the same time, well, with the construction of this current roster, we are limited. We need to be more physical. The NFL becomes more physical. It comes back more towards the running game. Though, like, their running game is pretty nice, even without the physicality aspect of it. At the end of the day, you need some mass. D-line, O-line, and even something from like their, let's say, skilled players. Because Tyreek Hill, Jalen Water, really nice players. They are not going to help you run block on those downs. And hopefully, what does this mean? And even when you look at the players that they have actually drafted and even signed this offseason, to me, a lot of them screams it's not necessarily about 2025. And that's a good thing to me. Like, if they wanted to be about 2025, like Tyler Warren was available, like, put another insane threat towards this offense and let's ride. That would have been short-sighted, at least in my eyes, though I really love Tyler Warren and I think he would be a nice fit here. But, spending first 2 picks and literally the only 2 picks that you had in your first 140 on linemen, hell yeah. And also signing guys like Westbrook-Ikhine, James Daniels, really, to me at least, says that the realization has happened. We need to be more physical, and that's great. And it's kind of even mixed at the grades of Jonas Savannah and Karen Grant, because neither of these guys necessarily taken in those positions are like some tremendous value. I feel like for both of these guys it was kind of like upper bound of the range where I was kind of okay taking them. But for what they mean towards where this franchise I'm hopeful like, is slightly turning around. I'm not saying they won't be speed-based, because a lot of what they are doing is really premised on that, but it just cannot be one-dimensional, because they've learned the hard way that they, struggling with a counterpunch, being really effective in December. They pretty much cannot do it with current structure of this roster. So I hope this is turned towards like better places. but it's going to be a long one. Like, they don't necessarily have a ton of draft prospects. They didn't draft particularly well in the last couple of years, and they have some contracts of their like superstar players that are very, very hard to get rid of, and they are going to be really, really expensive, and most likely kind of untradeable guys that you will have to get rid of by cutting, and that's going to leave a ton of dead cap on the table. So their financial situation is still pretty poor. But for what it's worth, both Kenneth Grant and Jonas Savanea, I hope, signals change in the way they think about this team. Now, towards how good they are, how will they fit, I think we will talk about that more in the portion of the video that's going to be about offensive and defensive line. Now, Jordan Phillips, that's yet another prospect that I'm really super happy, because this guy, as in terms of like a pass rush upside, I don't necessarily see it, but he should help you get to third downs. He should be able to stop the run very nicely, and it's like a really nice rotational piece for this defensive line, and like could allow you what theoretically could be the strength of this defense, which could be pass rush. Why I'm saying a lot of good, it really depends on health and how much Kenneth Grant and Job Robinson can develop, and the health of Bradley Chubb and Jaden Phillips. Now, towards the rest of these picks, I think they were kind of fine. Jason Marshall, not super happy. Ollie Gordon, I think, has a nice potential to fight for number 2 RB spot, kind of more filled out running back, fighting for top yardage, complement Devon Achane. I like that, but it's not like super special value in my eyes. Quinn Ewers, a lot of people like hated this pick, which is like kind of crazy, because like it's 7th rounder, and it's more like, yeah, this dude doesn't have an ounce of understanding and like consistency. Yeah, like consistency, pocket presence, like really feeling the pressure. Like, yeah, he has athletic traits, but playing football does not consist of like hitting one highlight out of 10 plays if 8 of these plays are negative, which is kind of what Quinn Ewers is. At the same time, like dart show for a quarterback, and we're like, we will get to that, trying to perhaps find potential replacement for Tua as we go forward, with like literally spending pretty much nothing on that. Now, overall, like nice draft. Like I think with the first draft from the Dolphins in like last 3-4 years that I'm like actually happy, because to me it seems like the organization thinks, in my eyes, again it's my opinion, more in the right direction. So let's hope it's going to signal better days for them. Now, where are we with the offense? Well, we have to start with offensive line, and it's probably bottom 3 offensive lines in the league. Not probably, it is bottom 3 offensive line in the league, and that comes from me, who is like huge James Daniels believer. Like, I've seen this guy, like if I try to like replicate what other guys have graded, perhaps like even Madden and stuff, he would probably be like something to decent starter to good starter. Or, if I try to put like equations between my grading and other people's grading system, I'm like, really? I mean, he struggled with injuries early in his career. Then he had like 3 to 4 years when he was relatively healthy and actually damn good, at least in my eyes. And then last year, obviously, like he got injured for the whole season, pretty much like after week 4. And he's not the youngest dude. And thinking about like his past 50 injuries, like I understand that this is concerning, but at the same time, he could be an absolute stud in this offense, because he's freaking athletic enough that he should be huge help for how they like design the run game. And in pass pro, he could be one of those players that actually cannot be total liability for the Dolphins, not only in like those super quick passing game that like Tua is exceptional at, which like does not demand necessarily too much of the O-line, but actually, 3rd and 8, you need a couple of seconds before throwing a pass. I think James Daniels can hold on, unlike pretty much anyone in this offense, because other than him, I don't trust any of these guys to pass protect for more than like 2.5 seconds. Now, Aaron Brewer, who is like the second best player on this offensive line in my eyes, he's very, how to say it, guy that is very easy to root for, because in terms of like physical limitations that he has, like he's not the biggest guy by far. Like he is the smallest of smallest centers in the league. But here and like nitty gritty, doing everything that he can, that's Aaron Brewer. So he absolutely, I think, maximized his potential as what he can be given his like body frame, body type, and he found himself, I would say, perfect spot for utilizing that skill set in this run game. In the run game that he needs to have quick first step, really go on the move, and Dolphins can utilize that. At the same time, he cannot pass protect for life on 3 and 8 because, his body frame. Imagine him against Sexy Dexy. Like, you have to double team Sexy Dexy because if you're not, like, Aaron Brewer could be like in 2 seconds, like here, Tua, here's Aaron Brewer, take him from me, or I would rather pancake you both. So, like, I have huge respect for such a guy because by all standards, this should not be a starting offensive lineman based on his body frame, and he is able to do it on a really good level where like team is utilizing his special traits. I'm a huge fan of these guys. Like, is he maxed out? Is he kept out? Yes, but love this. Now, and here we are like starting on a positive note. It's like, well, there is one guy that, I'm super high on, and I would still say like he's like the 20th best guard in the league, and then guy that I really like for his nitty-gritty and toughness, but I, definitely don't trust him protecting Tua for more than 2 seconds, and that's the best you have as of right now. That's a problem, right? Austin Jackson, kind of like your replaceable level starter, is, I would say, as of right now, you're probably first for best offensive lineman, which is kind of sad. Like did they pick up his 50 option? Am I right on this one? No, he signed an extension. Like, I was like, that would be stupid. Like, he's longer in the league, but he's like still very young, like 26. So good job on Austin Jackson. Like, I think for the money we're paying him, which is around like 12 millions a year, it's like okay. The thing with him is like he is like solid in pass protection, but also just a solid run blocker. So whilst he gives you something more in terms of pass pro, like he limits the upside of this run game. Though, like when you have a left-handed quarterback like Tua, the fact that you have at least like a solid pass protecting right tackle is actually nice. Nice. I promised I'm going to try to be positive. So yeah. Now, then you go with Patrick Ball, because Teron Armstead, unfortunately for the Dolphins, retired after the season in which he managed to stay healthy on his, which is like it was kind of impossible for him last couple of years. So it was a little bit weird that he retired after such a year when like it didn't seem like health actually limited him. So that's kind of a worry thing for the Dolphins, and I'm not sure that they were ready to it. Now, with Patrick Ball, he was a prospect that they drafted last year, I think in 2nd or 3rd round. Let me check on that. Well, doesn't matter. Like, this was not like a day 3 prospect. They've invested in him. 55 overall. But it was a prospect. And whenever he needed to play last year, he definitely looked like a guy that is not ready. So, 2nd year, they count on him to be ready. They have Larry Borom, which is quietly like a nice signing, because this dude is how to put it, like solid swing tackle that, if your young draftee is absolutely like flaming out okay, then you can bench him for Larry Borom. But at the same time, like, he's not replaceable as a starter. He is a backup, like, at best. So, like, he gives you something. If Patrick Paul plays like a solid backup, not even good backup, you probably go for Larry Borom. So it's like very, very thin line that you can go with, like, Patrick Paul, Larry Borom is like workable-ish, something that it's like really on the edge of what you can actually like allow yourself to do if you want to keep your offensive line in a good shape and your quarterback hopefully healthy, which is obviously a huge issue. Now, Jonas Savania, I think unlike Patrick Paul, I want to say he's more ready to play. I saw a lot of rawness in his game, so I hope that he's more ready to play than Patrick Paul was last year, because they quite frankly don't necessarily have any backup plan. Like, when I look at who would go, like Liam Eichenberg, who played last year, you don't want to go there. Like, it's kind of similar with like Larry Borom. Like, at worst, this is a guy that, can play, but you don't want him to play. We really don't. Like, this is not Austin Jackson situation where, like, yeah, eventually we want to get better, but for some reasonable amount of money, we can work with it. This is not the situation. Like, you don't want Liam Eichenberg or Larry Borom to start several games in a row. Like, in a pinch, they will do, but you really need these two rookie and second year guy with Patrick Paul. You need them to work. And that's a tough ask. And, when this is already a tough ask, add James Daniels and questions about his health. And really, like, Liam Eichenberg already out. When I look at their roster, Brewer has questions about injury. Austin Jackson has questions. Like, this is bottom 3 offensive line, easy. And it might be the worst. And like, and that's coming from me, that I really like James Daniels. I really am a fan of Aaron Brewer, and I like Jonas Savannah as a pick. So, as of right now, the average outcome of this O-line is not really good. They need to hit on these guys, and with that, they have workable line, and they need James Daniels to stay healthy. And like, we are talking about the first group on this team, and already this is like this massive question marks. Now, towards Tua, I think my situation or my analysis of Tua does not change from when it was last year. Like, he has some exceptional traits, like his throwing with anticipation, his quick release. That's special. Like, those are traits that very rare amount of people in this league has. I think his marriage with this offense, this ability allows for even putrid offensive line to like semi-work, because they don't have to pass protect for 2.5 seconds, but it needs to be only like 1.5 before he like goes to release, and he releases the ball in 2 seconds. It really allows them to build this offensive line the way it does, but it's also to a detriment that like he kind of hides the weaknesses of this O-line on some parts, but at the same time, like, eventually you have to convert on third and long or second and long, where you need throwback passing game, and they are unable to pass protect you. And at the same time, you are the most injury prone in quarterback in the NFL, which is, I don't think that's disputable at this point. And it's not only concussions, which are like the biggest threat to Tua, because one more and like, it's scary. Like, like always, like talking about concussions, Chris Olave, Romeo Dobbs, Tua, like, you don't want to see that. You don't want players, like, I love the physicality of this game, and I don't mind broken hands or like slightly dislocated back or shoulder or like whatever. I don't freaking mind that. But when we are talking about something that messes with people's mind, like concussions, I'm scared as a fan, and I'm scared for Tua, and I'm actually a fan of Tua. Like, I told you guys, I think last year, and pretty much every time that we talk about him, like, he was one of the guys that early in my days of watching American football, I even watched college because of Tua, because like his game intrigued me. And I think he is an average quarterback in this league, or like with some special traits and some drawbacks. But because he is paid like, like let's say like an average quarterback or a top 10 quarterback, that could work in case that he would not be injury prone. But being paid like this when there is one more concussion and your career is over, even without concussions, you rarely can stay healthy throughout the whole year. That's just such a drawback and like such a thing that really drags this team down, because on average you won't have him in those games that matters. And to add to that is let's compare Tua with Josh Allen, which is like unfair in a way, but let's do it for sake of this exercise. Like, let's say it's September and it's nice weather in Miami. I think there is like a tier and a half difference between Josh Allen and Tua on how they can play in these weather conditions. Because like I don't think like at those conditions, healthy Tua, top 10 quarterback in the league, I don't necessarily have problem with such a statement. At the same time, Josh Allen versus Tua, it's December, it's freezing outside. The tier level between these two guys is like 3 tiers, because Tua is just not built for this weather. And like he doesn't have arm strength for it. He doesn't necessarily have like good running ability that helps you obviously with the snow, because like it's harder for defenses to like stop on the dime. You can like your run game could really help overall your team. And when you consider the conference he's in, the division he's in, he's just like putting you in such a huge disadvantage as a franchise compared to Bills, that having number 1 seed is almost out of the possibility. Like we saw that in 1 year where like Bills were struggling and this offense was absolutely humming, and even there you just could not convert. So like number 1 seed is pretty much out of the window. And then you have to count on being a wildcard team, and as a wildcard team you are most likely heading to face Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. You are not beating this. So that's why I'm saying, like, even if in your highest of highs, even if Tua stays healthy the whole year, first round exit is the most likely outcome you are getting, like at those best case scenarios. And that's just the definition of purgatory. So nothing against Tua. I'm glad he got his bag. At the same time, I would just not pay him. Definitely not such a long contract and such a massive contract. It just doesn't make a sense if I want to win a Super Bowl in my eyes. So that to me, like Tua, average quarterback in some environment, I would say he can be a top 10. At the same time, like for a playoff, I would rather have a lot of other quarterbacks that I consider perhaps even on lower novelty level than I have Tua. So that was your Tua, your offensive line. Let me know if I'm wrong, right on these two mainstays of this offense before we switch to weaponry. Which definitely, 2 years ago, this was a scary duo, and it still could be. I don't know what to do with Tyreek. I kept him as an elite guy. Is he necessarily, like his Madden ranking would suggest that? I'm not really sure, like 95 or 96. Over Amon-Ra and Brown and other guys, I cannot do that. At the same time, does this last year's production, just 3 touchdowns, under 1,000 yards, and really this was definitely not Tyreek that just the year prior he was voted as PFF number 1 player. Insane, for a wide receiver to be voted at. Yeah, this was not his year. And does it mean regression? I'm sorry. Can he come back? Did he lose his speed, or at least some of it? Is he actually that focused? Is he that bought in within this franchise? When he's able to demand trade during a game that could mean playoff for you? Probably not. Also, in his mind, he's training for Olympics in 2026. So it's how much of a prime Tyreek Hill we will see, and how much of it will it actually be with the Dolphins? Because when I consider this team, they might start poorly, which I think is definitely a reasonable possibility, and then it's like Tyreek has already been disgruntled with this team, like on the verge of playoffs. Like, does he want to play for a team that's going to win 5-6 games? I don't necessarily think so, especially in like what could still be prime of his career, or at least like back end of that prime. So how loud is it going to get? And at this point, like, is there anyone who would like willingly take on Tyreek's contract? I don't think so. So, consider this my hot take. Tyreek Hill celebrating Super Bowl with the Chiefs uniform, and he's going to sign with Chiefs after he's been cut by the Dolphins. That's a hot take. You heard it first. Like, give me some insane odds, and I'm willing to bet on that. But towards where Tyreek is as of right now, as a Dolphins player, is he still could be an essential weapon for this team, and he still could absolutely be an elite superstar player. Perhaps not like Madden 99 guy, but still absolutely an elite threat. I don't think necessarily all of it is gone, and like what he was last year could not have like other reasons, whether it was like the team was internally struggling, to which I think he's part of that problem. We'll probably get to that in some point of this video. Or it was like, finally like lack of Tua's health in some cases could struggle. We all like saw it was like pre-week 1 game when like he had that confrontation with the police. So, add countless of children that he has to the occasion. Like, Tua as a player is, does it like become too much of a distraction? Or, like, does his, let's say, outside world becomes too much of a distraction from his greatness? I don't know, we will see. Now, Jalen Waddle, again, like definitely a guy that had downward year towards where you are accustomed to see him, and a guy that, as of right now, is kind of on the verge of amazing starts and an important starter for me. Can he come back? Yeah, like he's still just 27. They signed him to a long-term contract, and like he is supposed to be that guy after Tyreek's either gone via cut or trade, or like when he's going to be 33. Like, it's kind of where their contracts are like intersecting. It's like in the next 2 years where Tyreek's cap hit is combined like 82 millions. Jalen's are all in 20, and they become 70 in the next 2 years after that. So they hope they have longevity in terms of at least having one superstar wide receiver. Jalen Waddle did not play like a superstar last year. Can he be that? Probably not, but can he be one that you are absolutely happy with? As I would say, he kind of was previous season. Yeah, I think you are still cool with Jalen Waddle. Now, let's go to Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. I love this signing, man. This was one of my favorite signings, and it's not like he like brings another speed threat. No, he brings toughness. He brings helping with the run game. He brings tough weather shit, to this team. And actually signing him for 2 years on such a low cost as a number 3 towards Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, superb job. Like, low-key, one of my favorite signings that, like, money would not tell you, but I think he can be a very nice contributor for this team, and a guy that, like, he might have like 300 yards, but those are going to be nice yards in terms of, when the play is broken, Nick Westbrook is going to be operating 5 yards around the line of scrimmage, and he could be like a nice friend and security blanket for Tua, as well as absolutely helping them with a run game. Now, they've traded Jonnu Smith, which like Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey for Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think Steelers won that trade, to me at least, because if it was straight Jalen for Minkah, okay, like that makes sense. But Jonnu Smith, like, he was actually, I would even argue like more effective than Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill last year. Like, he was really good for this team, and after a breakout year, trade him instead of paying him. What I would not imagine is like some superstar tight end money, like what he got with Steelers. Let me check on that. Yeah, like they signed him to 1 year, 12 million. Like, what the F, man? Like, he was still under contract for this year on like 5 million cap hit, and then it's 10 million next year. Like, come on. Like, you are looking so long for this, actual tight end that, can be that third weapon towards Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and you finally find it, and then you let him go, and it's not because of money, or at least it shouldn't be, because this is not a huge cap numbers. I'm like, I don't get it, man. I really don't, and especially when it really looked like there were teams that wanted Jalen Ramsey. So it's not like you try to get rid of Jalen Ramsey and for you to get nice return, you needed to throw something in. So I didn't like this trade from the perspective of the Dolphins. Like, I understand getting Minka back is fun. At the same time, like, he had, secretly a little bit of a down year last year, and the compensation was just too big for me. Now, who is their starting tight end? It's Darren Waller. Really? Like, rapping career didn't work out for Darren? Okay. So he retired last year with the Giants that, spent some substantial capital to get him there for 1 year, then for him to retire, and now he's back. And I just don't know what, like, Darren Waller is. Like, I have no idea. And, is this the right spot for Darren Waller? When, like, I think if he's in, like, he has the working mentality if he's locked in. But with all the distraction, whether it was rapping and some other distraction that he has had in his life, like, is Miami necessarily the great place? And let's talk about the culture of this team right now, because Darren Waller like could fit the culture, but not in a good way. Like, this team, like, not only plays soft, but it really looks like soft mentally in a way. And there has been several rumors about not best practice, about being late on meetings, Tyreek Hill, and like kind of setting the tone that it's more fun than a drill. And it has some perks to it, and especially like in September, October, maybe that could lift you up. But when you need to win at Arrowhead or at Foxborough or at Buffalo, in January, it ain't gonna happen. Like, with this approach. And like, Mike McDaniel really seems like a guy that if he can just shift everything in terms of offense, that would be a special place. But in terms of like really being a head coach that is able to promote the culture, like Dan Campbell, like hopefully like Ben Johnson and those guys can do, like, really, it doesn't seem like a guy that's going to get followed in tough times, like, because he is like super like brilliant. You will follow him when things go right, because like he's going to give you cheat codes on something, and like he's going to put you in great situation to succeed. But at the same time, when things are starting to fall apart, they will like leave him hanging in a way. So it really feels that way. And like Darren Waller for this type of atmosphere, I'm not sure this is a good fit. At the same time, like when I look at their tight end room, it's Julian Hill, Farron Brown, and Tanner Conner. So Darren Waller has every chance to play. Now he is on the PUP list, and he should be back by week 1. But in what shape, in what quality, I literally have no idea. So there is a huge question with tight end position here. And like, if you can get Darren Waller from like 2021, maybe I understand why we let Jonnu Smith go, but how big of a chance that is? Small, at least I would say. So I don't understand letting Jonnu Smith go. Now, towards Devon Achane, he was, like, when you think about Dolphins offense, you think about Tyreek, you think about Jalen Waddle. I think at the end of last year, it was Devon Achane and Jonnu Smith that were really leading the charge. And I think Devon Achane, 2-3 weeks, and he's going to get an amazing starter in my books. He was really supreme. At the same time, he's yet another player that I don't necessarily trust in cold weather. Like, if he plays like in, let's say, as a Saint, like, I would love him in a Saints uniform. Here in Miami, like, for first 12 weeks of the season, for special, not special usage, but for like first, second downs, jet sweeps, everything, like, he is super useful and great back. But if you really need 1-2 yards, he cannot give you that. Like, he just doesn't have frame to that. That's why I really like Ollie Gordon. They brought Alexander Mattison to like complement him and really not putting 3rd and 2 between the tackles run in hands of Devon Achane, which Mike McDaniel, I think you are a great schemer, but I have not understand these calls and they have not worked. So I'm super excited. I think Devon Achane has a room to grow and could really be, easily top 10 running back in the league. And with the compliments that they brought here, I think their running game could be even better than it was last year. But that's kind of it for this offense. Like, you have huge questions about Darren Waller. I think there's huge questions about Tyreek Hill. You do have questions about Jalen Waddle with his drop off last year. And Nick Westbrook, like, he's a floor raiser, but not ceiling raiser. Like, one guy goes down or is not playing because something, like from what used to scare all the defenses and put like 70 points on Broncos. I don't see it here. Like, in high highs, okay. But again, like, how likely are those highs? And, when we talk about like backups, I guess Malik Washington, I have Taj Washington, the Eskridge, like, Jalen Wright in terms of running backs. We talk about Alexander Mattison. It's poor. It's not really great. It's really not great. We talked about backup offensive linemen. Again, like, in a pinch, those guys will do, but you don't want them to start continuously, like several games in a row. Like, I still like Larry Borom for what he is, and for 2.5 million, I would take Larry Borom on my team pretty much every day of the week. But that means, really backup tackle that I hope I don't have to start. Like, he doesn't have to play more than 150 snaps. Last guy I want to talk about in this offense is Zach Wilson, because a lot of people have a hot take that Zach Wilson could get a chance here because of Tua's injury, which is not a hot take, it's unfortunate reality of Tua, and that he could, with Mike McDaniel, like, kind of rejuvenated his career, like, in a way of Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. And I don't think it's past the realm of possibility. I think, like, this is a good spot for Zach Wilson, but not necessarily a great one, like, not a special one. I really feel like in terms of what's different between this situation and like Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, I think it's the environment, and I don't think it's the most professional one. I don't necessarily feel like those guys can count on Zach Wilson. And in terms of like leadership and development, I think in terms of like what you should do and how you should structure your offense or how you should play, Mike McDaniel can teach you that. But in terms of like really bring the team together and let's still believe that we can win with Zach Wilson, I mean, I don't think that that's necessarily something that is here. And at the same time, one of the key elements of this this offense is throwing with anticipation, which is something that Tua does exceptionally well, and they kind of need that with the offensive line being mediocre or like, let's say, bad. And what is like needed for this is trust, and like both from wide receiver towards quarterback, but trust with himself in terms of QB. But what Zach Wilson definitely lacks after like so many years with the Jets is confidence, and like how quickly the fans turn on him. And I understand why, but like this guy's confidence is not very great. So after a year with Sean Payton, this is another like positive influence, definitely positive influence. So I don't necessarily see it here. Like, it could happen, but I think it's less likely than, some, like when we talk about Sam Darnold last year, we projected that he actually is going to work, and he worked like, perhaps beyond our wildest dreams for like 15 games. I don't see it with Zach Wilson because of like what Miami is all about as of right now, which like really doesn't feel like a super functional organization from like within. But nice place for him to land, and I like that they were able to bring him in and like potentially think about what they will do with Tua and his contract going forward. This is the offense. Now let's go towards defense. And defensive line is yet another like total enigma that this team has, because on paper, this doesn't look bad, right? Zach Sealer, career, he was really special last year, very nice. Kenneth Grant, he's he has the potential to be 80% of Dexter Lawrence. Like, he has physical traits to do that if he puts work in. It's like, yeah, it's Miami. Does he going to put work in? And that was like one thing that perhaps with Michigan, I don't know, perhaps some days it was a little bit missing. But I trust that he's going to work here because of Anthony Weaver, who actually took charge of this defense and took it pretty well. And his specialty is defensive line. So I really feel like he handpicked Kenneth Grant, and I trust that Kenneth Grant is going to work. So in terms of interior, you are nice. And not to mention that they have Benito Jones as a backup for these guys, or like a rotational player. So this is actually a nice interior. And the edge could be even better if you guarantee me health. Because Job Robinson, let's start with the obvious guy in terms of like, yeah, he should be there. Like, I questioned this pick last year, but they had more knowledge about what Bradley Chubb injury was about and that he's going to miss the whole season. So with that being said, like, I would definitely not question Chubb pick last year as much as I did. And he definitely emerged as a very, very nice pass rusher late in the year. Like, he's not going to stop run. That's not going to be his job, but can he be 90 to 95% of Trey Hendrickson? I think so. Like, really the guy that you don't count in run defense, or like he's going to try, like he's not going to like flunk at it, but that's not what he is there. But in terms of pass rush, like he could do it with the best. I think that's the ceiling of Joe Robinson, like 90% of Trey Hendrickson. And that's really nice, obviously. And like he was damn good for his first year, especially late in the year. And next to him, you have Jalen Phillips and you have Bradley Chubb. Those guys combined played 134 snaps last year. Yeah, that's what Jalen Phillips played. And both of these guys have just sick record of injuries. Like, Jalen Phillips was forced to medically retire at college, then he was cleared to play. And then like this is like his season-ending injury. With Bradley Chubb, he had, I think, 2 as well. And also like he's been banged up, ACL tears, full Achilles tear. Like, the list goes on and on. And I absolutely don't know what these guys are going to be coming back from these brutal injuries. Once again, like especially for Jalen Phillips, like Bradley Chubb, at least he's got paid. Like he's wealthy man. If his career ends today, like I think he's okay at least, like from like human perspective. In terms of Jalen Phillips, he's still on a rookie deal. It doesn't mean like he didn't earn like substantial amount of money because he was a first round pick. But for a guy that was like, so many times it feels like his dream has been crushed because of injuries from college to the pros, and every time he's been on the field, like he's been a stud. So it has to be, it takes a really special man to be able to constantly come back, and I would wish him that his body could hold on. But at the same time, I think you cannot count on either one of these guys. Like, if they can play, and if they can play to a level that they did at their peak, which to me Jalen Phillips is an important starter, and Bradley Chubb, last time we saw him, like I have his card here. Like these are his stats from 2023. Like, he was specimen. Like, he was freaking dangerous. That's why he got paid so much money here. Like, they obviously traded, I think it was first round pick for him towards the Broncos, and then like he was astounding that year. But what he's going to be after essentially missing, 20 games right now, year and a quarter of football, I don't know. So this is a huge, and another huge enigma. Like, in their high highs, Kenneth Grant hitting the ground running, which is like really hard for defensive tackle, but can he be at least like a decent, potentially like a good starter next to Zach Sealer? And then you rotate Chop, Jalen, and Bradley Chubb. Like, I mean, this could be top 7 defensive line. Like, it could stop the run to a good degree, and it could rush the passer with like insane quality. Especially if Chop progresses. Like, that's it. But at the same time, we've seen defensive linemen struggle, especially those asked to be nose tackle. Like, even Byron Murphy didn't have necessarily great first year. Zach Sealer, he's 30. He had career. Like, do we necessarily expect him to be able to hold what he did last year? And if Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb ain't there, like suddenly we are talking about bottom 10 defensive line. So huge unknown for this team. I really hope that Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb can play. I cannot guarantee that. Now, towards linebacker room, this is kind of your, let's say, pinpoint will do linebacker room in the league. Jordan Brooks, very nice run defending, solid linebacker one that you can absolutely do. He lacks instinct in coverage, so he can get exposed, but he is a specimen in run game, and he definitely helps you. You can work with Jordan Brooks. Next to him, Tyler Dodson, he kind of supplements him in a good way. He's borderline like a decent starter, so you can do with this linebacker duo. I don't think they are a plus for you, but they are not necessarily dragging you down. They have KJ Britt there, Channing Tindall. There is some depth, not necessarily some depth that I would really like to go into, but this is absolutely workable room. And again, if you can guarantee me health of the pass rushers, Jordan Brooks is kind of an ideal complement, because he can really help the interior seal the run. So yeah, this could be nice complementary D-line and linebacker, top 10, very balanced, stopping the run with Jordan Brooks and especially the interior guys, and rushing the passers with the edge guys. It has that potential, but the chances of them fulfilling this, with the injuries, is small. And now towards secondary, and I'm okay, I needed to obviously redo this several times with the trades and signups, and this is kind of almost final version. It would have been, but Kader Coho unfortunately sustained a season-ending injury a week ago. So from this picture that already does not look very great, strip away Kader Coho, and suddenly you are looking at Jack Jones and Stone Hack as your starting outside corners, and that's dreadful. For what it's worth, sign Jack Jones and Mike Hilton as super cheap options. Yeah, sign me up. I think it's great value for money. At the same time, it's still probably the worst cornerback room in the league, and the fact that your best player is Mike Hilton, who is aging nickel corner veteran. I mean, he's going to do I don't think he necessarily slowed down, and I was surprised that he was still unassigned and signing for kind of veteran minimum here. I don't know why. If I'm Mike Hilton, and Miami has interest in me, I'm really not signing for such a cheap amount of money, because they should have been absolutely desperate. So I don't know why Mike necessarily did this, because it's not for a Super Bowl winning team. I don't understand his motivations to be done. Maybe it was not actually that many teams were waiting for his services, and he just wanted to play, to show up for next year. But I think the tape is good on him, so I was really surprised that he was still available and actually, signed for such cheap price. So good on Dolphins for sure. And with Jack Jones, he had promising year 2023. Last year with the Raiders, he played the whole year, and that's kind of the best thing you can say. I think decent starter is stretching it with Jack Jones. He has a chance here, and with him, I absolutely understand why he wants to be here, because he might get a chance to be their number one corner, and if he stumbles, he should be absolutely playing, and that's a great thing for you. Where on pretty much, I would say, almost every other team in the league, you would be at total best number 2, but mostly guy from the bench. Now you have a chance to show yourself against the best. It's high risk, high reward, if you show up and you can cover Garrett Wilson and you can cover Khalil Shakir, then you might be heading for a nice payday in upcoming seasons. But so I understand this, and from perspective of Dolphins, yeah, I get it. You're getting solid potential starting corner for 1 year for super cheap. But still, you have Stone Hackett as your number 2 here. I'm this is bad, man. This is really bad. This is really, really bad. And it's what is there? Cam Smith as your number 4. I will not be shocked if they react to Kader Coho's injury and really try to bring someone else in. Mina Sante Samuel is still unsigned, if I'm not mistaken. So that would make this workable. Though like there is probably some reasons to why like it took so long for Mike Hilton to be signed and Asante Samuel, especially if those guys like are going to sign for veteran minimum. There is probably much more behind the scene that I just have absolutely no idea about. Because like again, like to me, getting Mike Hilton for 1.4 million a year, like that should be no-brainer for every single team in the league, like every single one. Like even if you are not playing him, like every single one. And if you are not playing him, like he's your backup for this position, you are probably very well set up. So it should make sense for Mike Hilton to try to go to a team that is a contender. And if he's your starter, like yeah, like he I think he would be a starter for this position, like for at least 10 teams in the league. So there's probably something behind the scenes that I just absolutely have no idea about. And you know, with Asante Samuel, again, like if he's waiting for a payday, that some teams actually are going to buckle down and sign him for like 3 years, 45 million. And I totally understand that. If he eventually ends up signing for like 1 year, 3 million, then I'm like, that is probably something I don't know. Now, this is the corner room, probably the worst in the league, like especially because like the outside corners I have like zero trust in to be able to hold against the league's best or even average. In terms of safety, it's super fun that Minka is back. At the same time, like I said, like I was not super whelmed with him last year with Pittsburgh, and you know it could be not rude awakening for the Dolphins fans, but he's not necessarily the same quality player that he was when he left. I feel like he downgraded a little bit from those times where he, I would say, was arguably one of the best, if not for some best safety in the league. Right now, somewhere around top 10, he probably still is, but one more year like last year, and I'm going to have to strip an amazing starter from him. But like obviously, like he is a huge player here, and let's hope that he is going to bring the same vibe and energy and like something that gets you interested about the secondary. The second guy that like I don't think that can do that, but was a smart signing, was Ifeatu Melifonwu. I think he has the potential to emerge as a nice starting corner in the league. You know, somewhere in line like what I would say Kader Koho could be for this defense, like really practical number 2 safety, number 2 corner. That's what I imagine. He needs to prove that. That's why he signed for such a cheap. But like here's a good spot for him. So I definitely understand why he signed here, because you know he is in the age like similar to Jack Jones, where like playing actually means more than earning 1 more million per year, but like sitting on the bench, because he can show off and get a nice payday after a year. I think that's the best thing that you can say about the secondary is like you have 2 very good veterans and then several guys that are super happy to play, that they should absolutely bring their best out, because their career kind of like they most likely won't have such a great opportunity to show on a full year's tape if they screw up. Like this is a very nice opportunity for Melifonwu and Jack Jones. Like this is probably the most positive spin I can have on this secondary. Now, in terms of backups for the defense, I say with defensive line, like Benito Jones, I think as a rotational piece is nice. Mo Camara, he didn't really show much last year, so I kind of kept him as prospect from their year prior. Like at this point, like he's probably more of a solid backup rather than good backup. And Bradley Chubb, like you know, when he last played, he was amazing. Like I stand behind that. But you know, like if I would project what he's going to be, is much more of just a good or important starter, because the wear and tear on his body won't allow him to be what he was prior to that last injury. In terms of secondary, Cam Smith, Ashton Davis, like they have chance to play. Like that's good for them, not necessarily good for the Dolphins fans. So yeah, it's not necessarily the deepest of rooms. Now, I mean, Dolphins fans, tell me, was I like enough positive for you? Now let's go to the schedule and why I actually predict you to finish last. Because everything we talk about till this point, like I have question marks pretty much everywhere. Like everywhere, like least question mark I have is about, I guess, linebacker. Like Oh, okay, maybe safeties. Like Minka and Melifon. I'm quite confident. But with every other position, I have like a huge potential of this going to like being really good to being really bad. I think nothing has potential to be kind of exceptional, and that's where like if it's like you most likely don't hit everything really bad, like out of those outcomes. So that's going to leave you, let's say, 5-13, 5-12, or like 4-13, which still probably is not number one pick. And if everything like hits at that really good, or like 4 or 5 hits at really good, it means first round playoff exit, and that's really shitty place to be overall. Now my projection of where it's going to like average out, yeah, it's 6-11. And how do you get there? First part of the season to me is about Mike McDaniel and like bags of tricks empty, because like we've been used to him really bringing something super new to the table every single year, and last year we kind of did not see that. And is it because the bag of tricks is empty? Is it because they don't necessarily have the personnel to like show them, because Tyreek is not the best weapon in the league anymore, and they don't necessarily have too much after that. Their O-line cannot hold. I don't know, we'll see. And like when you see me predicting them to start 2-4, and you see like Jets, Panthers, Patriots, Colts, like you would hope that they start better, but I don't necessarily feel like they are like better than either of these teams. Like like I think those are a lot of coin flips games, and I definitely think they are worse than Bills and Chargers. So I'm actually expecting them to struggle early. And now towards the second part of the season, when especially Ravens, Bills, and Daniels, aka Commanders, it's like, well, pass rush, needs to be there, or I can actually see one of those teams putting a 50 burger on them, not the other way around. Like they need the pass rush for this part of the year. Otherwise, I think those games could be really ugly, especially with the secondary that I don't trust. I think those three teams have potential to really put 50 on them and not look back. Overall, I think they, with like playing at Cleveland and hosting Falcons, I think those could be two definitely winnable games. And I think they could steal one against Bills at home. Like if the weather is nice, they can steal this one. So like 2-3, like even here, like if it's 1-4, I'm not going to be surprised. So this might actually be a positive spin on the mid part of the season. And for the last part of the season, it's chance for Zach. And unfortunately, it could be it could come from, well, this season is kind of over. We want to save Tua because he's slightly banged up. And we probably he could have traded perhaps Tyreek at this point or cut. So perhaps like Zach, show us what you have, or it's the situation that Tua is actually injured, and at that point let's go with Zach, and it's a chance for him to actually show that learning here, sitting behind Tua, watching Mike McDaniel, learning, there is a chance for him. But as you can see by the results, I don't necessarily think that he's going to take league by the storm. And again, the schedule is not super hardest at this point. Like Saints at home, that's absolutely winnable game. I think Bengals at home is low-key actually winnable game. At Jets, at Steelers, at Patriots, it's not. You can see why this team could make playoffs. I don't think it's behind them, without a possibility for this team. But at the same time, especially those week 9, 10, 11, I think that's where season could really break for them, where it could implode for within. Where we talk about Tyreek and overall the practices. I think that's going to be a key stretch. If they are and good position after that, then I can see them making playoffs, but I don't think they will. So overall, 6-11, and really continue to not be bad enough to have top 3 pick, but not be good enough to do pretty much anything. So even though the off season was, I think, kind of good and well put together, given where this team is at, I think they are in such a deep hole that is going to take some years to climb out of this misery, that I think they are really in a purgatory. if I said top 5 in terms of I don't believe this team can win Super Bowl in the next 5 years, as of right now, it's definitely top 3 for me, because yeah, I think I've already told you guys. So sorry, Dolphins fans. I'm trying to be realistic. I try to be positive at some places where I think that there is positive outcome for this team, or it's like a positive spin. At the same time, it's hard. It's hard for you guys. I feel sorry. I really do. Till next time. See you. Hope you have a better day than I have views for your team's future. And see you with the next one. Bye bye.